if you have not met me before. I usually am not up here for this point of the program. I'm sometimes on stage for different creative-y things, but today, surprise, it's me. While our team move a whole bunch of stuff around, because, I don't know, I'm doing things differently because I'm the creative-y person, as I said, we are going to have a quiz, all right, because it is the last week of our Bad Advice series, all right? If you've not been here for any of the other weeks, then you're let off the hook today. You don't have to remember anything. But if you've been here, I'm going to quiz you guys, all right? So I want to see who can remember what our first week was about, the first week of Bad Advice series. Who remembers what the bad advice was? Anyone? Yes. Yes, only good people go to heaven. That was our bad advice because we learned that actually no matter how good or bad you are, it is through God's grace is the only way that we are saved. What about week 2? Anyone? Anyone at all? You guys are so quiet today. Oh, Soph has got it. Yes, only God can judge me. That was the second week, and we spoke about actually, hold up, we are actually held to a bit of a standard or accountable if we call ourselves a Jesus follower. And how about last week? This is only a week ago. No. Yes, it was a little bit about sin, which is a scary word, but we spoke especially about the lies that we tell ourselves that actually maybe stop us moving forward in our faith or moving forward in our life even sometimes. This week is the last week of our series, and we have got one more bad advice to kind of put through the ringer and see if it works out to be true or not. And our bad advice this week is don't take God too seriously. Or maybe don't take your faith too seriously. Has anybody ever had that said to them before? Or maybe you've thought that yourself? I know, yeah, I have. So we're going to be speaking about that today. And I mean, to start off with, there's some things in life, right, that you shouldn't take too seriously. Like, what are some ideas? Maybe the Netflix show that you're binging that you have to watch 5 hours every night. You know, maybe we shouldn't take that too seriously. Maybe it's the sports game that's on the weekend and that the outcome of that game actually depends our mood for the rest of that week. Maybe we shouldn't take that too seriously. Maybe it's your shoe fetish or your handbag collection. Maybe it is if you have kids or you are a kid, maybe it's that new game or toy or anything. I know especially as a child, there's lots of things that we can take a bit too seriously. I know, if you guys want to do you want to hear a story? Yeah? Okay. So there's something that I used to take very seriously as a child. And this is a bit odd, but I'll be real with you guys. It was praying mantises. And look at him. He's so cute with his little legs. All right. I loved these guys. I don't know why. Well, maybe I thought they were cute. But I used to keep them as pets. And what I'd do, I'd, gather them from the garden, and then I'd get Mum's glass, like mixing bowls or casserole dishes, and I'd make a little habitat for them with some bark and some rocks and some leaves. And obviously, to contain them, I'd cover it with some Glad wrap and poke holes in so they can breathe, of course. And I used to get like the cap from a milk bottle and put some water in so they could drink. I don't know if they actually drank from it, but it was peace of mind. And then, of course, they had to eat, right? So what I would do is I actually spent about an hour every day catching them some food. So I'd use a glass and I'd wait for the flies to come around, and then I'd pin them against the wall and, slip the paper under, and then I'd transfer it, peel back the Glad wrap and shake the fly or other insect in so my praying mantis could eat dinner. I was stoked with myself, really. I took it very seriously. And of course, as you do with all beloved pets, I named each one of my praying mantises. And I even went one step further. I know, you're like, Brie, how can you go further with this crazy story? But what I used to do, being a creative soul from a young age, I used to write a novel about each one of my praying mantises, and I wrote a story about them, and my favourite one, I can still remember her name was Suri, before Suri was a thing, guys. I think that's kind of special. And she had the longest novel. I actually think if you spoke to my mum, she probably still has it printed out somewhere. And Siri, yeah, she was a good one. Her story, her novel actually related quite a lot to the movie A Bug's Life. I'm not sure which came first, my story or the movie. But anyway, the point of that story is that I took this very seriously. And in hindsight, that was maybe a little bit too far. Now, there's other things in our life, right, that we probably don't take seriously enough. And, maybe we see our friends not taking seriously enough, or our family. And this could be things like work, or maybe paying your bills, maybe relationships or dating, or even just the friends that we choose to have around us. Could even be our physical or mental health. So what about our faith? Do we need to take it seriously? Or can we get away with just, kind of entertaining the idea or having it as part of our life, but then, once we've maybe been to church on the weekend, we forget about it and we're on to our next thing? I thought of what are some of the reasons or excuses, I don't know, why we don't want to take our faith seriously or move forward in our journey. And I don't know, maybe you guys can relate to some of these. The first one I thought of was maybe we don't want to be that scary, serious, stereotypical, religious person. Do you guys know what I mean? We don't want to be that over serious, everyone knows what I'm against rather than what I'm for, and I'm always pointing the finger and I can't have a laugh. We don't want to be that, right? Maybe it's that FOMO factor, the fear of missing out. We're like, oh, if I take my faith too seriously now while I'm young, then I miss out on the teenage party years, or I miss out on my early 20s to make all my mistakes and just have fun and excuse it as being young. Or maybe it's that if I take my faith too seriously now, I miss out on focusing on my job. Maybe it's the fear of missing out. Or maybe it's the compartment Jesus, where we go ahead and we put Jesus into all of these little boxes. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. We put him only into one box. And we think, okay, Jesus, you're in this box. You get to come out and on a Saturday or a Sunday when I'm at church, but then when I go to work on Monday, you're over there. Don't try come into my work life, stay in your box. Or don't try come into my relationships, stay in your box over there. And we try to, tidily organize our life into these little compartments. Maybe it's even that we have the someday, sometime approach to faith, and we think, yes, I'm going to take God seriously, but just not today. But someday I will. It'll be when I have kids, or it'll be when I graduate, or it'll be when I get clean, or it'll be when I am not too busy, maybe when I retire. And we have all of these reasons of why we can't take God seriously now. Can you guys relate to any of these? I know I can. I know I've thought probably all of these at one point of my life. So today we're going to have a look in the Bible and see what God has to say to us about taking faith seriously. Because he actually spoke about this to a church as well, which is fitting. So we're going to turn to the book of Revelation, which sounds scary, but really is just a book that a guy wrote. And this guy was called John, okay? Not this John. He was from a long time ago. And this John, he actually took his faith so seriously that he was exiled to a Greek island for speaking about Jesus. And I know you might think, oh, a Greek island, that doesn't sound bad. But remember, in context of the time, it probably was a lot different to today. And he was sent there for speaking about Jesus. And while he was there, John experienced visions from God. And he wrote these visions down into a book. And he sent it out to the different churches of his region and of his time. And one church in particular, the church which was in Laodicea, God had some words for them because they weren't taking their faith too seriously. So let's have a look at what he had to say. He says, this is God speaking. He says, I know you inside and out and find little to my liking. You're not cold, You're not hot. Far better to be either cold or hot. You're stale, you're stagnant, you make me want to vomit. Ooh, that's pretty harsh, right, guys? Like, I wouldn't want that said to me. Imagine how you would feel. You know, they're probably like, oh, yeah, that's about Bob over there. That's about him. I'm all right. Or maybe they thought, oh, that's actually about me. Like, that doesn't feel good, right? Let's think about this. So let's break it down. God's saying, you know, I know you inside out and out. He's saying, guys, I know you come into church. I know how you act on the outside, but I actually know what's going on the inside in your heart. And I find little to my liking. So obviously what was going on the inside wasn't the best. He said, you're not hot and you're not cold. Like, you're not cold. You haven't left. You haven't said no to me. You haven't run away. But also you're not hot. Like, you're not on fire. You're not sold out. You're not all in. He said it's better to be either hot or cold, not in the middle. Because what's in the middle of hot and cold? Lukewarm. Yeah. No one wants lukewarm. Like, I don't know, have you guys been to a cafe? They have iced coffee. They have hot coffee. I've never been able to order a lukewarm coffee. And if I get one, I'm like, blech. And I'll probably give it back and say, hey, can you heat that up for me? We don't like lukewarm. Or let's put it in this context. Imagine that you are interviewing me for a job. And I say, yeah, well, I'm not super into this kind of work. I mean, like, I'll do the job, but I'm only going to give about 50% effort into all the projects that I have to do. Would you hire me? Nah, you'd be like, oh, next, get out. And the same thing, imagine, let's make it really personal. Imagine if your relationships were lukewarm. If maybe with your husband or wife, they just stopped caring a little bit, or they stopped putting in effort. They're like, yeah, I'll stay with you, but I'm not really into it anymore. You know, I'll talk to you 50% of the time. I'll listen to you 20% of the time. But yeah, like, we don't want that, right? Like, no one wants to be on the receiving end of a lukewarm relationship, including God. So let's see what he goes on to say next. He says, you brag, I'm rich, I've got it made. I need nothing from anyone. Oblivious that in fact you're a pitiful, blind beggar, threadbare and homeless. Wow. He's really not holding back with these guys, hey? Let's think about this. Don't we often do the same thing? You know, maybe we don't go around saying, I'm rich, but don't we chase after what we think is going to make us rich or bring us happiness or fulfillment or contentment or peace? And it's a lot of the time it's not God we're chasing after. We think we'll find it in all these different other areas. And we think, I've got it made. I don't need anything from anyone else. I can do this myself. And we take pride in that, right? But we're oblivious that in fact, you know, we're on the path to emptiness or on the path to heartbreak. And it actually turns out that we're threadbare. We kind of end up with nothing, homeless. I heard it put really well actually this week in a podcast, and this guy, he said it's like we're climbing a ladder. Like, have you guys climbed a ladder before, but for a long time? Like, imagine it goes for ages and we're getting tired and it's hard work, but we're like, yes. But we're climbing a ladder that's actually leaning against the wrong wall. And we get to the top and we realize all that's there is isolation. And the thing is, God doesn't want that. He doesn't want us struggling up the wrong ladder. So let's see what he has to say to us next, because he's got an answer for us, as he always does. There's always hope. He says, here's what I want you to do. Buy your gold from me, gold that's been through the refiner's fire. Then you'll be rich. Buy your clothes from me, clothes designed in heaven. You've gone around half naked long enough. And buy medicine for your eyes from me so you can see, really see. You might be thinking, all right, Brie, what does gold, clothes, and medicine have to do? How does that relate to us right now, right? Let's put it into context of our culture, maybe in our situation today, God is saying, buy your gold from me. Get your worth from me. Worth that's been through the refiner's fire, that's actually been refined by God. He's saying, buy your clothes from me. You know, clothes are something that we wear and that often shows our personality or who we are and what we're about. And he says, you know, don't get that from the world, but come and get your identity from me. Your identity that has been designed and purposed for you in heaven. And I've thought about you and made a plan for you before you were even born. He says, find your identity in me. And then he says, buy medicine for your eyes from me. And we could maybe think of this as our healing, like a spiritual healing. Healing so that we can actually open our eyes and we can see ourselves and we can see one another and we can see this world through the eyes of Jesus. And he says, this is what you need to do. The thing is, God's kind of been a little bit harsh on these guys, and then he's given them their answer. And he goes on to explain, you know, why he's being a little bit harsh on them. And in the next verse, he says, the people that I love, I call to account, to prod and correct and guide, so that they'll live at their best. Up on your feet then, about face, and run after God. I love this. It makes me think of a parent, right? Like a loving parent. You're gonna look after your kids, and you're gonna, if they're doing something not so good or something that could hurt someone else or it could actually hurt themselves, we're not just gonna let them keep doing that and get into more and more harm or more and more trouble, but we're gonna correct them and we're gonna teach them, right? And it's the same with God. He's like that loving father that actually, he's not just trying to be mean for no reason or guide us or correct us so that we just think, oh, he's just being mean to me. No, he's actually wanting us to live at our best. The thing is, this only works through relationship, right? Like, the same for me. If I was at Kmart and I saw a kid, I don't know, trying to do something mean to his brother, and I went up and said, you need to stop doing this because this and this and this, and I'm going to make your life better for you, I don't think the parent would be super impressed with me, right? I'd probably get some harsh words myself. And it's the same with us. God's not he can't speak to us if we're not in relationship with him. So, how does that happen? How do we kind of get that relationship, or how do we even allow him to speak into our lives? And he speaks about that in this next verse. He says, look at me. I stand at the door and knock. If you hear me call and open the door, I'll come right in and sit down to supper with you. I love that picture. It's saying, you know, Jesus is actually standing there. Like imagine, well, you don't have to imagine. I've got a door. He's standing at the door, and he's not standing there and banging it down angrily, let me in. He's actually there standing at the door, waiting patiently and gently knocking. He's not going to barge through into your life or into your heart, but he's going to wait for you to open the door to him. Now, I thought I'd actually make this easy for you guys, and I've got some friends that I've organized to come up and really paint the picture for you today. So we're going to head up to the top stage. I'm just going to move this. Maybe someone else can move it because I'm not doing a good job. Thanks, guys. And the thing is, I want you to imagine, okay, so this is my life here. This is my door to my heart, and this is my couch, which represents the center of my life and of my heart. And throughout our life, we have all of these different things, right, that we're going to let into our heart. And maybe it's our friends that I will open the door to. Come in, guys. And our friends come in the door to our heart and, you know, take prime position on our couch. And everything's going well, and then we take a step maybe forward in our career, and we open the door to our career, and we let that in to really take a prime part on our couch as well. And these guys are kind of is really important to us, and then we know maybe they're not the best, but then we see Jesus coming to knock at the door. And we take a peek and we're like, guys, it's Jesus. Like, I don't really want Jesus to see what I'm prioritizing in my life right now. So you guys are just going to hide there for a little while. Okay, we'll let Jesus in for like a bit. So, hey, Jesus, come in. And we'll bring him in, and he can take a seat at the couch for a little bit. But I don't really want him to get too comfortable in my heart. I'm not really ready for that right now. But we'll keep him here for a little while, and we'll let him have a seat on the couch. But then maybe that next fun opportunity comes knocking, and we think, oh, I need a bit of this in my life. And look, Jesus, I don't actually want you to see this, so you need to go out again. Thank you. Bye. And we bring in our fun, and we bring our friends back, and our career is back, and everything's going again. But we decided Jesus doesn't need to be part of that part of our life, so they can all hang out together. But then the thing is, inevitably, something's going to go wrong, right? And maybe our relationship with our friends starts to fall apart, and then when they leave, we're left feeling empty. And so when we hear that knock from Jesus again, we actually say, Jesus, can you come back in? Because now my life's a little bit empty, and I need you back in here, and I kind of want help doing this stuff. And we let him have a seat on the couch again. And what happens is we end up with this yo-yo relationship with Jesus, right? Where when something we really want comes knocking, that we want to control, and we want that, or we think that that's actually going to make us happy and fulfilled, that gets the prime position. So when the relationship that we've always maybe even prayed for comes knocking, we bring that in, and we say, actually, I want the relationship to be in the center. So Jesus, you're back out. And the thing is, though, things might be good for a while, but then maybe our career falls apart, and we realize, God, I need you back in again. God, can you please come back into my life, because my career's fallen apart, and now I need help with this. And so we bring him back in for a little while. But as our career starts to pick up again, because, often when we ask God to help us with something, he will, then that comes back in, and along with it maybe comes financial stability, and our finances start to take prime position at our heart, and we think, God, there's not enough room for you anymore, and my finances, I don't really want you to be dipping into them, so I'm just going to keep them up here, and you can wait outside again. The thing is, maybe it's actually that disappointment comes knocking at our door. And when we open the door and it's our disappointment that's coming in, we could let God in at the same time, but maybe we're blaming him for that thing that didn't work out, or that failed relationship, or whatever it might be. And so rather, we give disappointment the center seat on our couch. And that's what takes control of our heart and maybe starts to lead our actions and decisions. And we can do this with so many different things, in and out, and just not allowing Jesus to be part of our whole heart. But the thing is, guys, no matter how many times we push and pull and slam the door on God's face and leave him standing out in the cold, he's actually always there. He doesn't leave. He doesn't go away. He's still standing at the door of our heart, patiently waiting and gently knocking. So imagine if we can open the door and let him in. And the incredible thing, and like we read in our verse, is that he doesn't come in and he doesn't stand at the door and say, look at this mess, get it cleaned up. What are you doing, silly girl? He actually comes right in and he sits down and has supper with us. And I love that picture, because he comes in and he sits down and he's all about the relationship with us, not about telling us what a mess we've made, not about trying to fix us, but rather first sitting down to supper, having this intimate relationship with us. And I think that is the most beautiful picture. And the thing is, through this, Jesus actually gets to stay at the center of our life, and all the other things move in and out and around him, rather than him being pushed in and out of our heart. And it's through this realization of how seriously Jesus loves us, how he'll wait for us, that we want to take his love seriously. Thank you, guys. Can we give a round of applause to our helpers? There's 4 kind of action steps or things that we can do today to help us. Thanks, George. To help us and kind of figure out where we are and what we need to do. And the first one of these is actually to check your temperature. You know, to figure out where you are on your faith thermometer. Are you hot? Are you cold? Or maybe are you lukewarm? The second thing is to identify the area or maybe the areas where you're shutting that door on Jesus, where you don't want him to see what's going on, or you don't want him to be part of that area of your life. You know, it might be one of the illustrations that we've seen today, or it could be something different for you, but I think we all have at least one of those areas where we're holding on to and we're kind of shutting Jesus out of. So we need to identify that area. The third thing is to speak it. You know, I think it's always great when we have something that we actually verbalize or do to not only hold us accountable, but to allow someone else to journey with us. And the thing is, choose carefully who you speak to, because we want to choose someone who has opened the door to Jesus in that area of our life and who will challenge us to do the same. If speaking to someone's really scary for you, then that's okay, I get it, but maybe you could write it down. Maybe even if it's on a note on your phone, or journaling it, or writing a post-it note that you can stick on your bedside table. Just something that's a little reminder, a little action. And the last thing is to invite Jesus in, and to do this every day, to open the door to him. I don't think it's something that we just do once and we're like, cool, Jesus, you're in, and then we don't have to ever do it again. I think it's a continual, every moment kind of thing. I know it is for me. I know that in my life I will often try and shut him out, or maybe I just get busy and I don't even remember or hear that he's knocking because I've got too much else going on in my mind and my heart that I ignore it. And so it's that continual reminder every day to invite him in. And this doesn't have to be something fancy. It's really simple. It can be something like when I step into that meeting saying, God, can you be with me in this meeting, or in our relationship or in a conversation, just saying, God, can you lead this, or can you be in this? It can be easy, but it's just a matter of us opening the door and inviting him in. What this all comes down to really is surrender. And I know sometimes surrender can seem like a negative word, right? Like we're giving up or we're losing out. But I think rather surrender is our greatest victory in our faith. Because the moment that we surrender to God, who has only the best intentions and the best life planned for us, then we're on our way to embracing him at the center of our couch, at the center of our heart. I know for me, surrender has been like the word of my walk with God. And from a really young age, I worked out that this is the thing that actually challenges me the most, but is also the best step to take every day in my faith. And I believe it will be for you guys as well. today, to finish, I'm actually just going to pray for us. And I'm going to ask you to do something that might be strange or scary for you, but I think our posture really does have a lot to do with maybe allowing God to be a part of us. And for me, something that I like to do is just to open my hands. It's really simple, and even if they're on your lap and it's just a tiny little bit open so your neighbor doesn't have to see, I don't know. But to actually open our hands and say to God, I'm surrendering. I'm going to allow you to be a part of my heart, a part of this area that I've shut the door on for so long. But whatever it is, we're just going to pray this morning. Is that okay? God, we thank you for the way that you stand at the door so patiently, no matter whether it's for years and years, and you wait and you knock and you give us so many opportunities and you stay there until we open the door for you. And today we just want to surrender to you, God. Whether it's that area that we don't want you to see, whether it's that we're ashamed, or maybe we're blaming you, or we want to keep control because we think we know best, but God, we're giving you the reins today and saying that you can take part in that area and you can come into our heart. And I pray that whatever it is that we're in need of today, as we allow you in, that you will just give us peace, joy, hope, but most of all, that you will allow us to experience your love, God.